I just taught myself how to code so that I can create my own AI soulmate.
What?
It's a modern day Frankenstein of all the boyfriends I've ever had.
I would be very afraid to do that. I cannot witness all the challenges of the past in one person.
Yeah, but I guess that makes good drama.
Ah, yeah. Anything for the art, anything to sell tickets. Using music, using technology, trying to discover this perfect soulmate. Was there any ethical dilemma?
People with technology are just addicted to convenience, and I'm guilty of that on some level. What happens when an algorithm knows you better than you know yourself?
What's going on, everyone? Thanks a lot for joining us on another episode of the Rishi Reportcast. A very special one here today, a very exclusive one with my next guest, because I've always asked and sometimes been asked the question, are Singaporeans creative? Are Singaporean artists constantly pushing the boundaries, constantly thinking out of the box, constantly trying to carve a space for themselves, not just locally, but globally as well? If the career of this person here with me is anything to go by, then the answer to all of those questions is a resounding yes. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to a singer, songwriter, actress, and a very talented Singaporean artist, Chua. Hi, Inch. Thanks a lot for being here with me.
My pleasure.
You were telling me about how the music industry is maybe a little more fortunate than the comedians in this country.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
I guess like music in so many ways has an ability to, I guess if you ask like a person that's just like a layman, you'd be like, do you consider this as art? People would be like, oh, music, yeah. You know?
Yes.
And then when you go like, is comedy and art, they'll be like, they don't know, you know? Like, what am I seeing? A man talking of a microphone? Like, is that art, you know? And I think it's a little harder for sort of the average person to immediately classify that. And I think that sometimes like when you talk about that art form, people struggle with that. Because it's not, it is actually literary art, since you think about a different expression of literary arts.
I've been fighting this battle for such a long time, Inch.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
I mean, I've been told in as many words that comedy, you can go to a bar and talk and make money. Why you need funding from the government?
Wow.
So I hear that, I'm like, ayo, here we are trying to create something meaningful, something that that outlasts a time period and leave a legacy of some kind. But it seems like society maybe is okay for us to just do it in a bar. Lah.
Yeah, I think it's a few things. There's a few very complicated layers about this. One is I think the general, I guess they undervalue or they take for granted the idea of humor and comedy in general. They just think it's like a given. Or like the truth is, like if any theater show has no comedy or any humor in it, it would die very quickly. But then suddenly when you have the specificity of someone that's just an actual comic, they don't connect the dots on how these two art forms are related. Even something like improv theater or improv, or some people don't get it. You're like, what do you mean by you're just making things up on the spot? You know?
How can you just let that? How can we give you money to
make
anyhow do things?
But you're not any. There's an art to this. There's absolutely an art to this. And I don't think, and it's so funny because people talk about people thinking out the box, being creative, doing all these things. But we emphasize so much on productivity and efficiency. We don't balance it out with the other element, which is all of this wildness, this ability to create nonsense to make sense eventually. So I think that's like something that eventually I hope people up there can actually understand the correlation a little bit more to then value its importance and then prioritize it first. Yeah.
You've been someone who lives by that, right? That whole ethos of creating something unique, of thinking and making things out of the box. Because you're a very talented singer, a very prolific songwriter as well, and a fantastic actress.
Oh, thanks.
On the stage as well.
I'm still getting a hang of it. I still don't dare call myself an actress. But
but I think there's something to be said about someone of your caliber. I'm interested to find out how in Singapore's box you managed to craft or carve a space for yourself in these worlds.
I think innately I've always been a very rebellious person. And I think that rebelliousness has really helped me in so many ways. And I'm a big believer of creativity being thinking out of the box. And without that box, I won't be able to have anything to think out of.
Oh, wow.
So in this case, I appreciate the very rigid boxes that I've been given all my life so that I have great opportunity to go against it. I need a grain to go against it, you know? So in so many ways that informs me. And going like in some people also ask me like, as a creative, how do you use AI right now? What do you like, you know, like what's up with that? You know, they're offended. Like, am I not a real creative because I'm using AI? And I'm like, oh, actually, it depends on how you use it. Like in this case, like AI to me is an extremely great tool for understanding patterns. And that exactly is like when it comes to writing, it's really great to, if you wanted a blueprint of formulaic work, this is it. So most of the time when I consult AI, it's like, what would you do? And it would give me a list of things and I would just immediately go, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing that, and I'm going to do something else.
Interesting.
It's like, it's to me like a really great way to sort of challenge your point of view. And most of the time I'll be like, this is my point of view, challenge it, you know?
I have a very weird story and
Tell
I
me.
have no idea if you will be able to understand
Tell
this.
me, I love weird stories.
There is a game that Indians play called Antakshari. So if you're an Indian person and you are listening, you know what Antakshari is. Antakshari is essentially a game where, for example, me and you are playing. You've got to sing a song, right? And the last syllable of the song that you end on, I have to sing a song in return that starts with the last syllable that you ended on. Okay, for example.
That's fun.
I mean, it's fun. It's a proper party game and you sing all these Bollywood film songs.
Nice.
And from a time that I can remember when we would play with my friends, I would always say, because there are some easy songs that come up. Like if it ends on a ka, there's like 10 super easy ka songs. And I always say, hey, let's cancel out the easy ones. These are banned songs because they're super easy to sing. And I thought about that when you mentioned that, hey, I use AI to kind of go like, okay, these are the things that you would do, and I'm going to challenge myself by not doing these things. So I used to do that when I played Antakshari with my friends.
No, that makes total sense.
I don't know how that makes sense, but yeah.
No, I mean, that's also even before AI, like when it comes to songwriting for me, I would do that too. Like write a list of words that I, like, you know, like how you try to complete a sentence with rhymes, and then you would write all the possible rhymes, and immediately I'll be like, this is lame, this is lame, this is lame.
So you cancel out all the low-hanging fruit.
Exactly. And you try to reach for something that's a little bit more tricky, and you're just trying to make it work, you know?
Yeah.
So that's like the whole point. Like, but it goes back to your personality in so many ways. Like if you're someone that wants to challenge yourself and constantly go against something, then this is great, you know? But if you're just someone that just wants a quick, efficient, easy way to get there, like roses are red, violets are blue, then that's just the kind of artistry you do, you know?
Yeah.
And the tool is great for you to aiding that.
When you talk about being a rebel, you left the country for a while to pursue music in the US. And I heard about this around the time I was starting my career in stand-up. And I had actually, in 2013, gone to the States. And I remember I was just kind of feeling, oh, are there people here that I know or whatever? And someone mentioned there's a Singaporean artist who's kind of pursuing a thing there in LA.
Why did you reach out?
Well, because I was in New York City.
Ah, okay.
I think you were in
different
LA.
Coast, yes.
Yeah,
different.
and we didn't know each other at the time.
But if you hit me up, I would have just responded.
Yeah, but I was so lost. I was like this Singaporean comic traveling to the US to perform for the first time.
Yeah.
Getting my ass kicked in open mics and
Were you just hitting the comedy clubs in New York?
Well, what happened was in 2012, I did this comedy competition, which I don't normally push for. I mean, unless you are a starting out new young comic, because if you win that contest in Hong Kong at the time, you get, I think, what was like $5,000 Sing dollars in cash, prize money, and you get set up with some spots in US clubs.
That's cool.
Should you choose to use it that way.
Yeah.
All right. So I went, I'm flying myself there and I'm going to do these spots. And it was very interesting, the learnings I got. But it was mostly in New York City and Minnesota. I didn't get a chance to perform in LA much at that time.
Yeah, but New York is where you want to be anyway.
Yeah, to do comedy. I learned,
100%.
I almost gave up, I'll be honest, because before I was doing the spots that I was lined up for, which were, proper spots at proper clubs, I thought I'm going to go in a bit early, hit the open mic scene and do a couple of smaller rooms just to, get my feet wet. worst idea ever.
Oh no.
Because it's such a big scene, and if you don't know what clubs you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing, I realized I was walking into these smaller clubs where it was just a bunch of open mic comics watching each other. There was no real audience members.
Yeah.
So all the humor was very alternative and very, baby rape and orgies, and everyone is like, wow, yeah. I'm like, where have I ended up?
They're trying to be provocative and one up each other. That's like the common comic thing.
And I go out there with my jokes and die. And I'm like, what world have I entered in? And I almost gave up, Ange. And Sharul, my girlfriend at the time, current wife, I don't know why that came out with current wife. Hey, can we cut this part? Hey, director, stop laughing in the corner, bro. I can see you smiling there. You're already highlighting this as a trailer, right? No, as in like we were dating back then. And I had told her, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe we should just head out. She's like, no, why don't you do the gigs you're here to do? And then you can decide. So true enough, when we started doing the shows that we were lined up for with real audience members, they're like, oh, okay. Now it's kind of making sense, because there was this whole scene of comics that maybe were still figuring their way out. They hadn't reached a certain point yet, and neither had I. But it was interesting to learn that in a mature scene, you will find so many different voices. Yeah. And there is a space for every voice. Every voice. Regardless of whether you agree with it or not. Yeah. There is a space for every voice. Yeah. I'm curious what your experience was when you spent time there. I mean, it's similar when I was in LA. I mean, it's a company town, I call that. Everyone in there, throw a rock and you're going to hit a creative. Everyone's working in the business. Yep. So it's nice, actually, to know that you're not that special. And it's also extremely sobering to know that you're not that special. And we are such a small pond in Singapore. Yeah. And like in terms of talent over there, talent is just not enough. Hustle is part of it, but even the how you hustle is important. And like really, you got to know yourself. For me, I was there when I was 20. So. Oh, really? But you seem to have done a lot in a very short time. That means. I was 20. Yeah. My gosh. And I basically went there without really knowing who I was, and I think that was a big challenge for me, because when you're young and then everyone sees that you're somewhat promising, everyone wants to give you advice. And I think when you're young, you're just like, I'm not going to be prideful. I'm going to like listen to all the advice and take all I get. And I just wasn't secure about who I was and what I wanted. So I think my years of experimenting in LA was really good in terms of, but I think I had to negotiate. I just made myself more insecure about who I was. But it was good that now I wouldn't trade any of those experiences, because there's been like, you have to navigate strange people, interesting people, important people that were good and bad. And you just kind of have a much bigger understanding. And just by sheer numbers of meeting other people as well, like other creatives, then you kind of just realize like, oh, where you stand, which is sometimes like pretty low. And then you're like, And then and for me, it was like, I realized this is where I was, and then this is what I need to put in if I wanted to be here. Because then you start noticing, oh shit, like people who are this, they're dealing with like rejection on 50 times a day, that sort of a thing. And that's it suddenly wakes you up. You'd be like, oh, in Singapore, it's like, oh, this person reject me, or like, and like, oh, damn it. Life sucks. And then you kind of go on. Were you on your own on this journey, or were you like with, was there an agent, manager, friend, someone with you? So I was lucky, because the reason why I moved to the States was because I got signed by a management label. Oh, amazing. And so I had my hands sort of like well held in some ways. And I met some really cool people as well around like my age and just other peers over the years. And just like anywhere else you would be, find your community and work with it. So, I mean, right now, my latest record that will come out after MYLES, and that some of the songs that are actually in my show MYLES, was recorded with some of my best friends who basically, we came up like from nothing in some ways, and now they're basically Grammy-nominated engineers at the moment. Wow. So like, it's like, it just is, I've always been a big proponent, and this is something that I learned along the years. It's never about, because
especially when you get so confused in LA with the glitz and glamour of certain people, and you realize I need to meet with that producer or this producer because they're going to get me ahead of my career, blah, 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 like all these things that you think are strategic for your career. And then it came to me very quickly one day. I was like, it's not about who can get you there. It's about who I want to get there with. And that's been the best anchor in terms of like creating any work or who I decide to work with eventually. And my friends were sort of struggling for a long time in LA too. But then in the last few years, because they kept at it for the last 20 years, they're finally like having a big breakthrough now. They're working on a really big album at the moment. They worked with they nominated for, they worked with the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, they worked with Spoon, like some of the biggest indie acts you can think of. But that's the whole point. You grind. You just gotta grind and be so dedicated. And it's almost like a survival of the fittest at its nth degree. And that's the level which I realized that you have to commit if you want it to be an artist. Yeah.
It's regardless of which field, right?
Regardless of which field. And I think that's the reason why whenever you look at any award show in the US or any of that stuff, most people, they get there, they'll be like, oh, you have no idea how long it took to get here. Like, it's always that, you know? It just feels like I have arrived or that sort of a thing. Like, finally, that's always the feeling.
And you can understand that, right?
And I can totally relate to that.
Having been in showbiz now for over nearly 2 decades yourself as a creator, as a musician?
Yeah, but I would say, admittedly, I think for me, I probably, if I could redo some of my younger years, I think I wish I tried harder when I had the energy.
Really?
Yeah, because I think...
You feel despite everything you've done, you did not try enough, try hard enough when you were younger. Yeah,
I think so. And the biggest problem is that I didn't have enough stomach for rejection, I think. I think I took it as well as I could. But I think now if I'm older, I think I have the mechanics to understand rejection a lot better. I think when you're young, you just kind of tether the work that you do completely to your self-worth and all of that. And I think it's inevitable, especially if you're an artist.
Yeah, I mean, what you say younger, I mean, I take every joke that doesn't work personally. Like last night I was at the comedy club, I tried this bit, they were like, no, not working. I'm like, damn it, man, I'm a failure.
I think I feel like it's a very Asian way to go about it, you know? Like we have this very all or nothing mentality. Like, this is awesome or this is shit, you know? Like we have no regulation about it.
There's something wrong with us, Inch.
Maybe, possibly. But the wrong has helped mix it right in some ways. But yeah, so to me, like now I think I manage it a lot better. That, you know, you don't really take it as personally. You can totally understand it. I can actually separate. Was it because, like, for example, did it not work on a technical standpoint? Did it not work on a delivery standpoint? Is it just a pure likability issue? Like, you can be a bit more methodic about it. But when you're young, you're just like, they hate me.
Yeah, why are they treating me like that?
Yeah.
After all the effort I put in.
Exactly. And you get a bit fragile about it. So I think, like, if now I think I wish I had the tenacity. I had the tenacity. I just didn't have, I guess, the resilience that I have now. But I think that comes with age. So it's one of those like, how would have I known?
What brought you back to Singapore after spending 5 years, was it?
Yeah.
What brought you back home?
A few things. Strangely, I actually felt the decline of Western civilization.
What?
I know. It sounds like very dramatic.
But this is pre Donald Trump, right?
2015, 16,
really?
around then. Yeah, I definitely felt this sense of like the future is in Asia.
That is so interesting.
And
you're not the first person.
Yeah.
I've heard this conversation so much from Asian artists over the past few years.
Yeah. And it's because I think it's got nothing to do about finding the flow of money and stuff like that. But I just felt like in terms of creatively, there is a up and comings about Asia, because Asia's at this point where we are comfortable enough to find our identity and be real about it too, ready to be real about it. So I think that's a great opportunity. If you want to build something, then was now. So I think my mom was quite excited when I told her I was going to come back. And then she was like, oh, you're coming back? And I was like, yeah, but I'm going to live in Pulau Ubin to like write an album. And my mom was like, what? So I was like, yeah, I'm just experimenting. I got my heart broken, and then I was kind of like, I was engaged and I called my engagement off.
This was when you were in the States?
I was in the States.
Okay.
And then I came back to Singapore and I was like, I was trying to find, and art has always been a safe space for me to sort of bring whatever pain and whatever that I'm dealing with. So I ended up going like, what's this thing? I just threw myself into this cultural discovery, and I was like, what does it mean to be a Singaporean? And like, what is the provincial version of this? Some people are like, you got to go to the cabin in the woods to find your inspiration or something like that. I was like, how about I go to Pulau Ubin? So I rented a old kampung house for 4 months and without electricity or running water, and then wrote my album Letters to Ubin.
That's a beautiful story. I mean, I to come from Hollywood Boulevard and then you get on a ferry and go to Pulau Ubin. You're probably the first person to have done that.
I don't know.
Directly.
I'm sure maybe someone out there undocumented have done it, but yeah. I mean, LA was great. It's definitely a shiny town. I have so many LA stories over the years of like various just LA people doing LA things, But then there's something about really focusing on what does it mean to be us in Singapore and a Singaporean, and for me to actually kind of have my own story to kind of tell. I think that was more exciting to me than trying to be another indie artist in the US trying to make it.
Do you feel like you've gotten your due as a Singaporean artist in the career that you've had so far?
I don't think that I ever frame it that way. If you ask me, have I ever made it or whatever, like I guess like people, if that's a question.
Yeah, whatever that means to you, right? Like whether you feel that you feel like you've arrived or received the due attention or work that you or the accolades, whatever it is that you strive for as a creator.
I think it never really registers to me that way, only because it's actually genuinely unimportant to me. But sometimes I do feel a sense of recognition. Something as simple as I for Compass Awards, one year I got the Artistic Excellence Award, and it's different. And I really appreciate that award only because it is it's peer. It's a peer thing. People recommend. So that's different. You know, it's not like a popularity contest or anything like that. And it's an award that's got nothing to do with numbers. It's purely about artistic integrity and excellence. And so that felt like really quite like heartening for me to be able to have that kind of like I guess acknowledgement from people.
Of course.
But it's not something that I go like, I made it. I feel like I get that moment more when I get into a dressing room. Like, oh, there's hot water. I made it. like something like that. That makes me feel
shower.
There's a guys. They give towels. Then I feel like I think this is a good place to be.
I remember that feeling. I remember that the first time I went backstage. I think it was Esplanade.
And then I think I remember my first time playing the Esplanade too, and then they gave towels from Mandarin Oriental. Yes. And I was just like, this is so fancy, guys.
I remember calling home. I was like, check it out. There's these like, soap and shampoo and all that.
It's a hotel.
And my mom is like, can you bring home some? So I was like, my family doesn't get it. I'm here to do a show at Esplanade. My mother is saying, can you bring some free shampoo home from the toilet, the backstage toilet? I'm like, no, I can't. Don't be silly.
Sorry.
Go. You had
it's those things, like these little things that made me feel like, that's very privileged of me to be, a good, nice, sweet, privileged position to be in.
Because you started your craft and you still create your work a lot as an indie artist.
Yeah.
Explain to me the difference between, for someone who maybe doesn't understand the music industry, what do we mean when we say an indie is independent artist?
It means indie, independent. I guess for a while I wasn't independent. I was with a major record label for a while, but I guess over majority of my career has always been independent, meaning I'm not signed by a company. I'm not backed or funded by a company. Every album has basically been self-funded in so many ways, even crowdsourced and crowdfunded at some points. So in that case, like you're your own, I guess, business entity. Honestly, I don't find it's just a term for people to kind of understand what you are in the genre of music as well sometimes, because indie is also a genre and it can be quite conflated from time to time. But I just see myself as like an independent artist that just doesn't have to answer to anybody about the artistry that I do. Yeah.
That is an independence and a privilege
So much.
that
But you take all the risk as well.
Yeah, I would never give that up though. I mean, I understand
Exactly.
that like this whole thing we were talking backstage, I mean, off camera that, is one of the endeavors that I put forth as an independent creator.
I see, I have a lot of respect for people who do that because the truth is, as an artist, we're not that special. Every other industry needs to do this for themselves. If you wanted to start a chicken rice store, you need your own capital, you need to invest in yourself, and you need to do that. But for some reason, I do feel some artists feel like extremely entitled that I need a patron before I start, or something like that. Where now sometimes I always get a bit like scared when I hear sometimes about artists who apply for grants, and the moment they don't get the grant, they don't go to do the work.
Cannot lah, how to survive.
Exactly. So to me, it's like, so you're only going to do your art when someone else pays for it. And I have a problem with that because it's like, from my standpoint, like even before any of the grants gave money, every indie band I knew just like, they pulled together money, everyone, like the bands, they'll come together and they're like, we're going to record an album. They'll scrap whatever they have to kind of make it happen. And then after that, they would just do your own thing, you know?
How do you balance that in, it's a age-old debate of balancing art with commerce, balancing your creations with money.
Tough. I mean, for me, I can never. One point in time I tried. Like every young musician starting out, you end up trying to play like nights, like gigs. You play bar gigs, you play covers for people and stuff like that. That's how you survive, right?
Yep.
And for me, I tried that out a little bit when I first started out, and I realized two things that it compromised. One was that it was killing my love for music, because you end up being sort of like, you just sing covers all night and you're being this puppet where people buy you drinks, you try to, it's just like, I don't know, I just hated it. And it's not for me. And I felt that it was compromising my ability to love music, to write music. So then if I thought about it, I was like, would I rather find a completely unrelated job and get money from there, and instead of getting money from what I love doing, and then maybe supplement that,
Okay.
Because fiscal, to me, I realized over the years, because I've done that before as well, where I compromised my artistry for money. I think on some level, we don't really have a choice. I mean, I feel like I've done that. And the problem is that I realized that it really costs me my creativity. And that's something that I realized I don't want to compromise on. So I much rather do other random copywriting work, voiceover work, or some other thing that's completely unrelated with my artistry.
So you don't what's the word? Contaminate your art.
Yeah.
With this other side
Which
of it.
is even why I started F&B for a while, whatever. Something else to kind of to do that, to try to then kind of allow my head space or to prime myself. Because the main thing is always the art. And then I think the harder discipline is to be able to keep your eye on the prize, because it's very easy to be tired if you had a day job or just exhausted and you don't have the capacity. But if you always keep your eye on the prize, which is the harder thing to do, then it would be there. Because at the end of the day, maybe this makes me extra Singaporean, but fiscal stability is important to me.
Tell me more. Yeah.
If I feel like, for me, I realized at a point where I am not fiscally stable because I'm sacrificing too much for my art or something else, I end up being too stressed out to make the art as well.
You are oh my God, you have spoken my mind.
Right?
Yeah, because just to build on that, I don't want to break your train of thought.
Please, go.
When I started doing stand-up comedy, it was a liberating experience, right? Because it wasn't meant to be a source of income. I was hosting events, I was doing a bit of TV work, a bit of writing work, a bit of voiceover work, a bit of corporate training work. All those things were paying the bills.
Yeah.
Stand-up comedy was 2 times a week I'd jump up and be absolutely free of any of these things. It was like a passionate love affair. Somewhere along the way, things got a bit complex because then people started knowing me for being a stand-up comedian. And then it became a job. So in between, I've been in a point in my career where I had to negotiate that in my mind to go like, hey, figure this out, Rishi. Otherwise, it's going to suck the joy out of you doing this thing that you truly love, that freed you and liberated you as an artist in the first place. And that's been a journey. So I completely understand what you're saying.
And that's the thing. I mean, I wish I was someone that didn't need this fiscal stability in some ways, but I realized that, and I accepted that I just need it. So because of that, like I will plan for it.
Yep.
And I will just need to figure out how to focus my energy and my artistry in a different kind of way. And to me, the most toxic thing that I can think of that has happened in the early 2000s or 90s was this whole romanticism of people quitting their jobs to be an artist. You always hear like, lawyer quits job to be full-time artist. And these things get sensationalized. I feel it
Erin Pang, we're not talking about you.
or anyone. There's so many lawyers that quit to do arts, okay?
But I can't wait to see you play Mr. Miyagi. Adrian. Hey, if you quit law to become Mr. Miyagi in a musical
Why
25
not?
years later, sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead. But it doesn't always work out for everyone, right?
But I mean, it's the problem about sensationalizing that story as well is that, I mean, the people who are outliers, who are talented and hardworking and have the things piped for them, they make that risk and call to quit their jobs and whatever. My fear about this thing, this romanticism of it, is that I notice a lot of young artists who then are afraid to even start because they feel like I need to either do art wholeheartedly or not at all. And I get a lot of that when I speak to young people. And I also get this pressure for a lot of people who always, even mid-career artists, where they'll be like, if I don't do this full time, it means I'm a failure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think these are so toxic because if you think about it, there's so many people historically where it's just one, let's just flat out, getting your artistry seen, heard, and in front and center with an audience is already it's a
big deal.
It's a big deal, period. You know, being able to make a living out of it and have that, it's really a very small percentage of people that actually get to really do that.
I do believe if you are doing that, you are truly blessed.
You are truly, truly blessed.
Yeah.
Everyone in between you kind of would have big wins and up and downs. Isn't like it's very rare that your career is like a complete trajectory up the whole time.
Yep.
But either way, it is normal for a lot of people that I met in the US, like they're, mid-tier, like sort of big artists or whatever, but they kind of had a job on the side or did another thing on the side too. People like the famous rock and roll stories are like, the band members in Led Zeppelin were all like graveyard shift workers because that was the only job they could kind of get while they played gigs, But the whole point was they didn't want to compromise their hours because they wanted to make sure that they could play gigs.
Yep.
So like that's the whole thing. It's like do whatever that you think you need to be able to keep your artistry at its best.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I mean, I do feel like there is a sense, and I hear these stories as well, that, well, I don't want to romanticize this whole thing, but myself included, right? I was in a position where I was teaching Bollywood dance to primary school kids in the day, or I was the guy in the basement of Plaza Singapura trying to sell you mattresses on the microphone.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you spend 1/3 of your life on a mattress, make it a good one. Like I was that guy trying to tell you like 8 hours is 1/3 of your life, just so. And I remember I would wrap up at 8 p.m. and then rush to the club to go and do like a 10-minute or a 7-minute spot.
Yeah.
Just because that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Right. And the morning shift would pay the bills and the night shift would kind of, feed your soul.
Yeah.
So what would you say to young people then? Like what is the best way forward? If you truly do believe that there is something you want to say with your creative expression, with your art, whether it's music or writing or performance, acting, comedy, what would you advise them in a country like Singapore?
I think the first thing I find very lacking when I meet young artists when they first come, or people who are just completely new, and I don't blame them because the education of the industry is zero. It's not something that it's not general knowledge. So it's something that you actually need to research on. So something as simple as like, depending on what field, like comedy or whoever it is, something as simple as, do you know where the comics are? Where did they go? Who are the current comics in the industry? what is the history of this art form in Singapore? Simple things that you can actually even just Google to research, and that curiosity just needs to be there.
Yep.
But then a lot of people end up like being, I guess it's the mixed up of the internet and YouTube and being a TikTok star or whatever it is. People just think you can just get famous on TikTok and that's the end of it. And then they're on their minds is like, how do I just get famous? Which is problematic.
Yeah.
To me, it's like simple as like, if you want to be plugged into the industry, know the industry, maybe start by doing some research, kiddo. If this is something you're really interested in, I need you to just be a little bit more curious. And I'm not your chat GPT. You need to go find out the history or something, just know your environment,
Yep.
And I think that's the level of critical thinking I just would like to ask of people in general, I think.
Critical thinking, one, and put in the effort. And in terms of balancing this world of the fiscal security versus the artistic integrity, how would you advise them to navigate this very complex path in Singapore?
I mean, I struggle with it all the time, and there are days where I admittedly don't do it very well because I don't know about you, but like I think when I spend a lot of time creating a work, I try to do it as much as genuinely as possible from a point of creativity, technical excellence, or whatever that would mean to me. But at some point when it's not well received, for an example, and that well received could happen in two forms. Either it's not well received like artistically, or it is not well received financially as well.
Right.
And they two can separate. Like it could be well received by critics, but then it
Didn't make any money.
Yep. Or the other way around, where it makes lots of money, but you're absolutely unproud of the work that you just put out.
Oh boy.
That's like also a whole other pain in itself.
Yeah.
And I think it's very difficult for an artist or anyone to actually untether these things, because none of them actually correlate. You could do something extremely important, for example, ballet and opera. Extremely important, difficult art forms to do, but extremely important to uphold. Or the other way around, you could make movies like Timothée Chalamet and do box office hits and just go nonstop,
Right.
that sort of thing. But none of them should actually kind of, I guess, be more important than the other.
Yep.
So then it goes back to what your artistry is as an artist. Like, what do you really want to do? And there's no shame in going like, I just would like to make lots of money. Yep. That's up to you.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, but if you're one of those people like me who try very hard, I want the triangle. I want it all. I want it to be artistically great. I want it to make money, and I want it to be something that like my peers would recognize. So like then you have to admit you're being greedy, and that's okay to be that ambitious as well. You just need to put in the work for it.
You have created a very beautiful, maybe inadvertent segue into your upcoming show. Talk to me about this show that's happening at the Singapore Repertory Theatre, which is my old home. I trained as an actor there.
You did.
Yeah.
They speak very fondly of you.
It's so sweet, man.
They do.
No, I mean, doing the 2-year acting program at Singapore Repertory Theatre changed my life completely. Yeah, I was lost before that as an actor. I had dreams of becoming a Bollywood actor. Not very sure how to do it. And then I trained with some of the best. I mean, like if you remember Michael Corbidge, who was a previous associate artistic director at the time now. So he was training people like me, these little lost kids in voice and text and Shakespeare and stuff. And now he's at the Royal Shakespeare Company, a voice and diction coach, training actual pros. So I was very grateful. I am very grateful to the unit and the coaches that taught me.
I wish you did more dramatic acting, actually.
Actually, I want to.
I think you should.
It feeds my soul.
I think you would kill it. Yeah.
I constantly try to make sure that I get cast, but people see me as a joker. They see me as a comedian, so I don't get these dramatic auditions.
I think historically, a lot of great comics make very good dramatic actors.
That's what my first acting teacher told me.
It's true.
Yeah, but
I really think people who do comedy are just more skilled than others. Like that's something that I would like to try to do someday, but I'm not ready because I just don't have the amount of confidence or in that department.
I was told when I was training that there is a very thin line, right, between comedic acting and dramatic acting.
Yeah.
So if you can make your audience laugh really hard, chances are you can do the
You
opposite
can freak them out.
very well. Yeah.
Yes.
Make them cry.
Totally.
Well, don't worry. So if you all have auditions, please call me. But this is not about me. Tell me about MYLES.
Yes, MYLES Soulmate in a Box is a new musical that I've written. I've written the script, the music, and designed it along with an amazing, wonderful team. We have a director from Denmark that has been working on the show as well.
Wow.
And so yes, 5 years, 5 years in the making, and it's based off, I guess. But I think if some people are familiar with the work that I do, I tend to be very immersive with my research. So if I wanted to know about Ubin, I live in Ubin. If I wanted to know about Antarctica, I go to Antarctica and write a whole musical about that. In this case, I wanted to explore artificial intimacy or understand it, to write about it. I thought it was a very interesting topic to think about. And so the first thing I did was during COVID, I just taught myself how to code so that I can create my own AI soulmate.
You've no coding background.
No.
And you learned coding for this artistic piece of work.
Yeah, I started off just with Python and then kind of understand a little bit of how the inner workings, and then worked on creating. Back then, I guess there was no ChatGPT or Claude or any of that. So I was creating my own LLM model at home, essentially.
Man, you lost me a bit.
Sorry.
I know I have an IT support face, but I really have no idea what you're talking about. Python, I thought, is only available in
jungles.
LLM sounds like
language learning models.
I thought it's MLM, like a scam or whatever. Sorry. No, I'm just trying to understand from someone who has no knowledge of this. You have gone supremely deep into the world of tech in order to come out with an artistic creation.
I think learning to code is very similar to learning a new language. And to me, it's about trying to build something. So for me, there's no better way to learn how to build something when you have a product in mind. And in this case, it was a very fun experiment for me. I find all endeavors creative at the end of the day. So it wasn't that difficult to try to and I'm the sort of person that I like to work with what I know. And if I don't know it, it's as simple as let's go find out. And so that was my research phase of doing this. And based on that, I guess I think all good writing comes with real blood sacrifice, which is it needs to come from a real place. So I think this whole process was sort of a great way for me to uncover, I guess, all my loneliness in so many ways, or the relationship and why. Because when you talk about artificial intimacy, why is there a need for artificial intimacy? How do we even define intimacy in the first place? And to me, trying to create a perfect soulmate allowed me to confront a lot of things that I never really thought about for myself.
Can you give me an example?
I guess for me, I've never really thought about the qualities I wanted in a person or what I wanted. I just always thought serendipity would fix it and then it'll just happen and then love, la la la, and then you commit and that's it.
Which is in reverse to how a lot of people do it, right? A lot of people start off their search for a romantic partner
with a very strong list.
With a list.
Yeah.
And then they kind of remove things along the way. But for you...
I never had lists.
Okay.
I never had a list. It
wow,
was
you built your list along the way.
Yes, because that's the thing. First, in order to have a soulmate, I guess the big question is define a soulmate. Right? I think everybody has a different definition. My definition is someone that is a counterpoint to your soul, an intimate witness to your life. That's my definition. So because of that, then if I'm going to program that, then in order for someone to be a counterpoint, they first need to understand what they're countering. And on top of that, intimate witness of their life. So how much information do I need to feed it for it to be a witness in my life as well? So all of these things need to be quantified when you're coding it, because you can't it just needs to be specific. So I'm what if I want a conscientious partner? What does that mean? How did I need to quantify conscientiousness? So you need to anticipate my needs before I know that. How would you do that? You would need information. So maybe a mood ring to actually understand my moon cycles, to actually figure out when I'm having a good time, a bad time, or when to interject. Wow. So in order to be conscientious, you need information.
Right.
And then you can program what are the according, needs, what kind of questions, what temperament you should be adjusting when you're sort of like talking to somebody. And then things like, I want my partner to be funny. Like, what kind of funny? Then you list like a whole bunch of people that are like you think are funny and sexy. And for me, it's like Keanu Reeves is very sexy, or Carl Sagan, who's very like a cosmic brain, and Nathan Hartono is very like funny and quirky, or whoever it is. So you kind of like list references or create. It's like it's a modern day Frankenstein if you think about it.
Yeah. Wow. It sounds like it also forced you to confront some truths about yourself.
100%. I mean, I end up very nakedly trying to understand myself a little deeper in so many ways. And I believe that technology is not just an amplification of humanity, it's also a reflection. And it's a very sobering mirror. And a very sophisticated one too.
Did it scare you at any point what you created?
Yeah, of course. I think it surprises you pleasantly, and at the same time, it also, I guess for me, it was a great exercise of noticing how much I would outsource about myself, including my self-awareness. What happens when an algorithm knows you better than you know yourself? Then these are some of the questions that this show as well sort of explore.
Is there an ethical angle that you kind of delve into when you explore this show as well? I mean, so using music, using technology, covering the theme of loneliness and relationships, trying to discover this perfect soulmate. Was there any ethical dilemma that you had to confront when you were doing this?
Constantly. I think AI now, there's so many ethical issues around it. May it be usage of creation, the companies like big tech in general, like that's a whole other thing as well. And for me, I don't have the answers, honestly, for a lot of this. And the truth is, I don't know if anyone can give the answers at the speed in which the tech is developing, because it really is moving so fast every day. Like I'm trying to keep up. And that was one of my biggest fears about working on this show, was that things could be dated by the time I put it out, because I've been working on this for 5 years, and since then I had to keep changing what I do because it just keeps evolving.
Changing so fast.
So fast. So then it also, in many ways, I used it in my advantage, because then it really made me ask again, like, if tech keeps changing, what is the underlying invisible relationship that is a constant? What is the timeless thing to talk about in this topic? And for me, it's exactly that, like loneliness, artificial intimacy. Like people talk about like now, like, oh, ChatGPT has now caused harm because like kids have asked it to help write a suicide note or something like that and stuff like that. So to me, it's like the question is what happens is, yes, we can blame tech, we can also kind of add regulation and all of this, but we're not solving this other bigger problem about what happens, what's going on with the person and how they are when they're reaching for the technology, And that's the thing. I think it's a real exploration about who we are and what we are. And in this case, I feel technology is innately addicted to convenience, or people with technology are just addicted to convenience. And I'm guilty of that on some level. And I think that's usually the question here, is really to get people to understand their own complicity in the whole thing. And then for each person to kind of figure out, where do you stand in all of this, not necessarily give you the answers.
Wow. It sounds like a mind-blowing production.
I hope so. I mean, and it's fun because there's lots of music.
Yeah.
It's actually quite funny, I think.
That would have been my next question, actually. Like, is it, because it sounds like you deal with heavy things.
Yes.
But
there's a dark humor to it that's quite funny.
There seems to be a degree of levity
I
in
like
the treatment. Yeah.
I want it to be because there is something quite funny about it and strange as well, right? Like in recent times, there's like a viral video of this uncle having an AI girlfriend in Singapore.
Did I see? I don't know if I saw this. Uncle having an AI girlfriend.
Yes, like a 60-year-old uncle who's like, it's going viral right now. Everybody is like, and the comments are so mean. People are like crapping on this uncle, like, uncle, you have a problem, like you're crazy or something like that. And everyone's being very quick to judge. But it also is a very strange thing to see this man who has a wife, has children, and he at the same time, he has an AI girlfriend to keep him company. And I think there's something sad and extremely like important to pay attention, and there's also just something funny and weird at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be more and more common because the data doesn't lie, which is that we could see people make fun of it, but the adoption of these things are higher than ever.
Wow.
So somebody could go like, yeah, no, this is stupid, but then they have an AI girlfriend.
They have a date night on the way home with
or
Susan.
It could be even less innocuous than that, where they're not even big decisions in their life. They're not consulting their confidence like a real person anymore. They're just going to ChatGPT to ask for advice before even making a big decision, you know? You know what I mean? So I think like the habits of connection is probably going to shift a little bit. So that's something that I would like for people to be a bit more cognizant about, that ironing out every piece of friction in our life is not exactly the best way to go about it, because the friction brings so much more for us as well.
I was just thinking about this while you were sharing, Inch, that I have this, my view is that because of technology and because of social media and because of AI and a lot of reasons you've mentioned, my view is that live shows and live experiences and real authentic connections in person is something that's going to make a huge comeback in the next half a decade to 20 years.
I'm with you on that prediction 100%.
And that's why I think what you're doing with this show is so interesting, because it forces people to come into a live space, a beautiful space, right, at the SRT, and at the same time confront some realities of the impact of artificial intelligence on their human lives.
Yeah.
Wow.
Think of it as very voyeuristic, because I think that's the medium in which we kind of live our lives right now. So I think the audience would be in a very voyeuristic position. We will have, after every show, we will actually have a post-show talk, because I think that I'm guessing people will have questions, or they have, this topic is so big, I think a lot of people have a lot of feelings.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Hence, like, I was hoping for you to come for a talk show.
Yes,
post-show talk.
we're talking about it, right? Have we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Post-show talk as well. We'll have various guests from various different places that have an opinion, because I do want a wide variety of people to have an opinion about this or share their opinion about this too.
Yeah. Can I ask you one question about the inception of this idea?
Yes.
Did it come from a specific experience that you had? Was it, inspired by or caused by something that you personally faced?
Well, I was genuinely wrestling with or trying to befriend my loneliness during COVID. I think everyone kind of was at that time. And eventually as well, I think I'm no stranger to failed relationships. I've had quite a few. I mean, I'm the sort of person that believes every relationship I've ever been will be the last. So it all hits me really hard whenever it doesn't work out.
So you go all in?
All the time.
Every time?
All in. I'm no chill on that.
Dangerous, huh?
A bit. So most of the time I feel like every time when it's over, I'd be like, I can't do this again. I'm usually in that state.
Okay.
And for me, the truth was, this whole project was a really great way on, I could blame other people for how relationships failed. But in many ways, I needed to confront on my patterns, or recognizing my own patterns and my complicity and how relationships break down. So, it is all good writing comes from a blood sacrifice. So it comes from a place of truth and things that really happen. And in fact, it's not one single past lover, but I guess a lot of stories from various relationships ended up into one. So there's a character called Archie in the show, and he plays sort of like an ex-boyfriend. And Archie is, I guess, in many ways a chimera of all the ex-boyfriends I had. Sort of like another Frankenstein of all the boyfriends I've ever had, I guess, in some ways, or ex-lovers in some ways.
It's a very brave thing to do, right? To put every past failed relationship, like you mentioned, together into one.
Yeah,
I would be very afraid to do that. I cannot witness all the challenges of the past in one person.
Yeah, but I guess that makes good drama.
Yeah. Anything for the art. Anything to sell tickets. Okay, we'll do that.
That makes compelling storytelling, and I guess that ups the stakes. I mean, Inch in this show is a alternate universe version of me. She's not me per se. And you would also see some strange, like this universe is slightly different from ours. It's parallel, but not really the same either. And I like playing with that. Like I enjoy science fiction or a little bit of like sort of like a blend or like a confusion between reality and what's not at the same time. I think that's an interesting space to be in, especially when you talk about something like AI. The whole idea is that you want to blur the lines of reality a little bit.
Wow, this sounds exciting. Okay, good. MYLES Soulmate in a Box.
That's right. It's showing on the 13th of May to the 31st of May at KC Art Center. You can get your tickets at srt.com.sg. And if you'd like to chat with MYLES too, you can on the SRT website.
Oh, I mean, he's available already.
Yeah, to chat on. He's like a chat with MYLES on the page of the srt.com site.
Okay, so if you have questions about the show,
You can ask him yourself.
Yeah.
If you have questions about me or him or just about your own personal life, he can probably chime in.
We're going to leave a link to how you can get tickets and also how you can chat with MYLES even before you show up for the show or after if you've got questions or thoughts. But go catch Inch, a very talented Singaporean artist. I don't want to use the word multi-hyphenate because I think that's a stupid LinkedIn word.
It's so LinkedIn, I can't even.
She's just an incredible talent. And I think you will really be pleasantly surprised if you make some time to go and watch her.
Please do come.
Yes. Thank you so much, Inch.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being open and honest and candid with your thoughts.
Of course.
We've talked about your show. We've talked about something cool that you're creating coming up. I've always been interested in how your experience has been as a female artist, not just in Singapore, but when you traveled abroad as well. Like, has gender played a part in informing your work?
Gender and race, I
Gender
would
and
say.
race. Okay, tell me about that, please.
I mean, I feel like when I was in the States, I find, strangely, the Western world more sexist than Asia.
The Western, in show business?
In general, yeah.
Oh, in general, more sexist?
Just in general.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a bigger prejudice of like, for example, women are not as technical, women are not as... so yeah, you could be a female artist, but the chances are it's like she doesn't know anything other than being this poster child of singing or whatever, you know?
Oh.
And then it's which is still an issue if you talk about like female engineers, like sound engineers or whatever it is, they always seem inferior for some reason or something like that, you know, which is not true. Some of my favorite like engineers today right now are female as well, you know? So it's like I would say that there is a stronger prejudice in the Western world for some reason. And I felt that when I'm at like concerts or when I'm in the engineering, like in the studio or something like that. And less in Singapore, I would say.
Why do you think that is, though?
I don't really know. I think in many ways, I do feel like people, but at least in my circles, like people have always given me the benefit of the doubt in Singapore as a creative and as even like anything related to sound stuff or being remotely technical. And I appreciate that a lot. And I guess I never got to question it. Yeah.
I guess, I mean, my view is that I don't fully understand the technical aspect of what you do. But my guess is that you've earned that space. You know, you've earned your spot in that space by virtue of the work that you've done, the experiences you've created, and, you know, the body of work that you've got. That even if someone told me that, oh, okay, Inch is involved in this particular project and it has to do with sound engineering or composing or music, I'd be like, okay, I trust that brand, I trust that name, and I can understand that it's associated with quality. And I'm not even from the industry in terms of music. So I can imagine that, you know, people would give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, but
you've earned that. Yeah.
I think like but I do think it's normal as well to have a different treatment in some ways. For an example, when I first started coming out in the scene, when I even went for just gigs, not even playing gigs, I went to watch gigs, there weren't that many females in the audience when you go to gigs. So I would be like one of the few females at a gig, like an underground gig at that time. And then people treat you differently. You'd be like, because you're like the only girl in the room.
Right.
So people will be like, hey, you okay? You lost their moshing. Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine, you know? But like...
But that's changed now, or is it still the same?
I think now you see so many females in the audience going for underground gigs, in fact, and like some of the organizers are chicks as well. It's like awesome. A lot of female managers, a lot of managers in the industry are female too.
Okay.
So even right now, so in the music industry, if I look at Southeast Asia, most of the time people in management positions are females.
Yeah.
So I feel like in many ways, and it's the opposite when you go to the Western world. In management, you still see a lot of men in higher management roles.
In the suits.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in Southeast Asia, at least, it's a lot of women in charge, actually.
You know, this is interesting to me because I think coming from the world of stand-up comedy, at least in Singapore or even Southeast Asia or a lot of scenes that you go to around the world, the non-straight males are supremely underrepresented.
I have a theory about this, especially with comedy, which might be quite unpopular.
Go ahead.
But for me, I believe that there are masculinity and femininity are two things that are very important, and everyone should have a balance of both. But if you were to classify certain properties, I suspect humor is innately masculine. It's a masculine trait, yes.
Okay. Why do you feel
and
that?
this does not mean that women are not funny.
Sure.
It does not mean that women have no sense of humor. That's exactly not what I mean.
Yep.
But I believe that if a woman has a sense of humor, she has a bit more masculine qualities and not necessarily,
Interesting.
Because to me, humor is like how, because a lot of people talk about toxic masculinity, right? But then what are positive traits of masculinity? A lot of people end up listing female qualities like, nurturing or whatever. And but that's technically so to me, there is a real importance in separating these things for me, just from at least how I see the world.
Sure.
So positive masculine traits are like leadership to me, actually, sort of like a sense of efficiency. These are all things that I believe are more masculine traits. I can't list them off the top of my head right now, but I do believe humor is one of those things that are innately masculine. So that's just my opinion. So for me, because there's this thing about what is a joke, right? You can go back to dissecting what is a joke. And it almost needs to happen at someone's expense. A joke can only happen with an expense.
Okay.
Where
fair.
that expense happens, it could be you, self-deprecation, or it could be someone else or a situation. So that to me sounds like a pretty, without it, something needs to take action for it to happen. And a good analogy of that is, I go back to Ursula Le Guin. She has a really great sort of short book that's called The Theory of the Carrier Bag. I hope we're not getting too philosophical and boring.
Go. No, please. I asked, that's because I want to know your view on it.
Okay, so there is her train of thought, and this to me is a great understanding of masculinity and femininity. When she's talked about the history of humanity. When you first started out, we were all hunters and gatherers, right? But we've neglected the very first invention that we had, which is the bag. Because when we invented the bag, for the first time in our lives, we're able to carry more than our stomachs could.
Okay.
We can pick up a tree, put it in a bag, and hold on to it. And to me, the bag is like a great symbolism of what femininity is. It is a bag that holds things. It doesn't exactly have a purpose. You could swim in a woman's purse, a million things, and just be there. And then the other thing, but however, we as a society, when it comes to the way we live, we somehow put more value in hunting and instead of foraging because of the spear. Because the invention of the spear allows us to not only feed ourselves, but also we come back with a story of courage that we slayed the beast. And that is a very fun, efficient way to get us fed, So to me, those are a great way. Both, there's nothing wrong with either of them. But I feel like balance for a person requires masculinity and femininity. And for me, in order to achieve for example, in storytelling, when you try to have a 3-part act, go in for the efficiency of telling the story. Spear. The other way of storytelling would be, this is the situation and all these disparate issues, and here's a bag to hold these very innocuous thoughts, and you can ruminate on it. I don't give you the ending, you just need to ruminate on it. So they're both different kind of ways and approaches to tell story. And for me, comedy and I guess like comedy and humor does lie a little bit more on the spear. Because there is a need to instigate. There's a need to, you can't let it be, So I feel like it's natural in that environment, just by statistics, to have more males in that environment. And then when I do see female comics, sometimes they are very masculine, or they approach comedy quite masculinely, You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
It's the environment, I think. That's my suspicion.
No. I mean, it's an interesting perspective. I've never had that view explained in that way before. But you are right in that it is still very what's the word? It's still very filled with masculine energy. Yeah, the comedy clubs, and I'm trying to understand, in your view, like you say, the music industry has had a lot more female representation in Singapore in terms of even leadership positions.
Yeah.
I'm curious whether that's something that can happen in the stand-up comedy world as well.
I'm hoping so too.
Yeah, and how that might happen. Yeah, it's a constant discussion.
So that's the thing. I feel like I've seen some like queer comedians, right? I actually quite love that kind of I love that kind of comedy too.
Yep.
And that's making more way in the US more so less, not so much here in this area.
Even in Australia, I think if you go to the festival circuit and even the mainstream circuit now, there's a much better representation of a variety of voices.
Yeah, but I think like you're fighting against two things. One is the audience is so primed at a particular kind of comedy and humor. It would take some time for them to get used to this new brand or this whole other way, which will eventually happen because I think all things happen in evolutions. So for me, if there's just more room for that, people will be open to listen to it. And I think things like Netflix and streaming has really helped comics in so many ways, right? Or YouTube or whatever it is. Because in the past, I guess the average person wouldn't go like, I'm going to go to a comedy club tonight.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But then now, without any expense, they can just look for something funny and hear a person speak, and they are not investing in a sort of like an unusual brand of comedy that they're not used to, or they have the capacity to spend time on an unusual brand of comedy that they don't usually take. So I think these things slowly open people's palates, which is just needs a bit more time, you know?
Yep. Good. Well, thank you.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. I'm so long-winded.
No, it's okay. Don't worry. This is the beauty. The beauty of this format is that there's no like no one telling us that, hey, we got to wrap because the sponsors got to throw their ads on. No. There's no advertisements, no sponsors. But I will remind you to go catch Inch live at the KC Arts Centre for her very, very exciting, unique, never attempted before.
On some levels, yes, I think so.
Some things that have never been done on stage before that she's going to try.
Yeah.
In MYLES Soulmate in a Box. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We got a great insight into Inch's mind. We got a great insight into how she balances life from the fiscal and artistic perspective. And most importantly, I think we got a great insight into how Singaporean artists like her are growing and creating a space for themselves, not just here, but around the world as well. So thank you, Inch. I appreciate you being here.
Really appreciate you having me.
We'll see you on our next episode of the Rishi Report podcast with new guests, new topics, and hopefully new lessons that we learn. Thank you very much. I've been Rishi Budhrani.